Hi, guys, and welcome back to Take Time Podcast. I'm Kieran, and this week I had a conversation with a friend of mine who I've known for quite a bit now, and he's an educator. He is a completely normal dude who really just spent a lot of time studying himself. And the way he did that was through astrology and numerology. And he's taught me so much in the process. We've talked about having this podcast episode probably since I met him because the podcast was always on my mind. It just needed time to bake in the oven. So, with some intelligence, with some humor, you'll get to meet Josh. And please be mindful. I apologize. We had a little technical difficulties in the recording with some sound. I'll do my best to kind of edit it, but his mic was not working for about 17 minutes, and then I promise you it gets more even and better. And really, that's when everything starts to pick up anyway, and it gets really interesting. So if you can bear with the sound, please give me some grace. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, here we go. Let's meet Josh. Hello. Welcome to Take Time Podcast. I have Josh today. So Josh and I met over a year ago now, and the meeting of the story I feel like is pretty important because it kind of showed me who you are and how we became friends and had many conversations about since. I met Josh because I started a job at a stretch place that I don't really feel like mentioning the whole name of because why? Part of my path. And I had Josh on my bench one day, and our first conversation we had was you literally talking about your Kundalini experience, but you didn't know it was like a Kundalini experience. And I, with the spiritual background that I do, was like, oh wow, this guy knows. like when you meet those spiritual people in public, but you don't know until you have the conversation with them. That's like how we sort of met. And you had said how you had this feeling up your entire spine. You brought up chakras, you brought up energy, and I was like, okay, this is someone I can genuinely talk to. And I had told you that was what a Kundalini awakening is, and you were like, well, I want to keep getting that back. And then we started talking about meditation. And along the lines of all of that, you kind of have taught me so much from there on too.
Yeah, vice versa too. It's been mutual for sure.
Yeah, we've had this sort of co-aligning healing relationship where I was in a really dark time and you were also in a really dark time. And honestly, you helped me a lot because you were teaching me astrology and numerology and helping me find myself in that way through the roughest breakup of my life, which I'm still unfolding so much about every day. And you keep teaching me. So, I want to share that with the world. I'm going to treat this like I have no information. I don't know anything about you. And also, like, greedily, I want to learn things too.
Yeah, there's plenty to know. I'm still learning stuff.
I am kind of curious, like, how did you find numerology? What's your story there?
Yeah.
And feel free to speak about astrology too.
When I was younger, I was, pretty crazy, partying, all that kind of stuff. And I was playing semi-pro football all the time, and I was just questioning a lot of things. How I was living my life. There was no relationship, there was none of that stuff. And a friend of my mom's was a tarot reader, and I had already gotten my tarot reading privileges revoked from her because I was just an animal pretty much. If I didn't like the thing, I would fly off on a handle. So she said you could go get a reading from the person that taught me. And so I go get a reading from her. And the first card she put down was the hangman. And the first thing she said to me was, "You should be my student. That's my student card."
What does the hangman mean?
Well, I mean, a lot of things. At that time, it was, for me, the message she kept giving me, is hang in there, which, whatever, it's a spiritual card. She called it one of her big 5 karmic cards. And she just told me that it was someone who was learning in the process of learning something and felt like they were in this suspended area. That was her explanation for it. A lot of tarot readers read it a different way. Mm-hmm. Context always matters with tarot. But I actually thought she was running a scam on me. This is how I believed the world was, right? Because I was like, oh, she's just trying to get me in her class. So
you were a skeptic a bit, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't figure out life. And by the end of that, it had come up 3 or 4 times. And she said, you should be my student. So I did. And she taught tarot and kind of, she had a separate numerology class that I took later. But in her tarot Bible, when we got to the suits, at the top, it would say, when we were on cups, it said Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. And I was like, what's this? She goes, oh, it's associated with astrology. I'm not an astrologer. It's just there for your information. So when I took her numerology class, there were also planets that ruled the numbers. And astrology kind of became, I read a book on it while I was just at a Books A Million, and I was like really trying to prove that it was bullshit, in all honesty.
Was that the book you recommended to me? Like everything you need to know about
Yeah, the
astrology?
only astrology book you ever need.
Yeah.
Well, so that's funny because that wasn't the first one. It was, I ended up, there was a time, this is like about a year later, when I was living in my car, I was trying to be a musician. I was just trying to struggle through reading tarot cards and that stuff. But I ended up going to Books A Million on my days off, and I just read books on everything. And this book actually had ephemerises. And if you don't know what an ephemeris is, it's just the way astrology was calculated years ago. We have software that can do it now, but they would just use how fast they knew the planets were going around and make charts. And so I didn't know you had a moon sign. I mean, just like anybody. I just thought it was just, I'm a Libra. And I remember really, I'm a Libra. And my moon sign's Libra. And I was like, oh, yes. And then my Mercury was Scorpio. And I got enraged because I was like, Scorpios suck, like most people think. And then my Venus was Virgo. And I was like, all the girls that I had dated that broke my heart were Virgos at the time. And I was like, fuck this. I was just so angry. And then I remember looking at Scorpio Mars and I was like, okay. And then she had blurbs on each one of those. And mind you, I've already kind of told you I was a little off the wall, which is if you read about Libra, it's not really true. Libras are kind of socialites. And that was part of me, but that was kind of crazy. And the blurb in that book that I read about Scorpio has never described me better than anything. And I remember there were a couple of passages, I'm probably paraphrasing. Scorpio Mars is attracted to anything that has an element of death or danger to it. And then, what was the other thing? I can't remember what the other thing was, but that was one. I was like, dude, that's me. I mean, I was on a motorcycle. I played football. I was always fighting people. Yeah. Living a crazy life. So that was the astrology part. But numerology, I started seeing these patterns through it. Like, oh wow, this chart, this number. So numerology really was more of a later thing for me, even though I had the base knowledge for it. And really, numerology has been my focus the last decade. And I actually use numerology more now.
Yeah, you had said that numerology is more what you sort of relate and believe in now, at least to me. And I want to say, how old were you when you sort of found astrology, and then how much years into it did you start to develop like a relationship with it? Because obviously you had those moments where it was like, oh wow, I really believe in this. Like that sounds like me or something, like you said with the Mars. But that's also really advanced. Like a lot of people just want to know like what their sun, moon, and ascendant is, and they're like, wow, that makes so much sense. But it's like you went straight for Mars, which is very Scorpion of you.
Yeah, it was so with all that, basically I've been a bartender on and off, and you have to ID people. And I read these books, and I have a fairly photographic memory, so I knew things. And then I would be like, I would notice, oh, this couple is, oh, this is a Capricorn man with a Scorpio woman. They look like they're really in love. What is that? Oh, I see a lot of like these married couples that were like Capricorn and Cancer. Well, what is that? And then there's weird ones too that I've seen, like I thought were weird at the time, like Taurus and Leo. Now you guys have been together for 8 years. And then I would see things that really wouldn't go together, like Aries and Virgo. And I was like, I kept asking myself why. And then the numerology part of it. And I just, over time, honestly, the bar business was like my lab. And because you can just view people and see how they act, sober and not, so positive and negative expression. And it's like, oh wow, there's something to this. And it was a slow burn over time. I mean, this started in about 2006. And by the time I moved to Montana in 2009, grew up in Florida. And then I would say by about 2014, 2015, I was a full-on believer that this is nuts. Like, and then it just was like a spiral after that, because astrology is so studied. It was beyond natal charts, and now I'm getting all this other stuff. But I kind of came up with my it's not like it's a wholly new language, but there's certain things that I think about astrology I don't think a lot of people do. And then that just naturally transitioned into, I have a database of charts from people. I said, do you mind if I keep? And I know their numerology. So then it became the numerology part. And what I noticed is that numerology is a way better, accurate description of somebody's kind of overall expression in general, where astrology is really the minute details. And that's why I kind of started calling myself a karmic astrologer, because I realized that was its greatest use for me. I can look at the numerology and go, oh, you're a one, right? Ones are, it's the sun, they rule the sun. They're independent, they're self starting, they're confident in themselves, they're going to go out and express themselves, they're going to stick up for themselves, they're not going to be someone who's a pushover. Well, two, because it's a masculine number, two is the opposite. It's feminine, it's receptive, it's more sensitive, it cries more, it feels emotion deeply. And that two might be an Aries, but the two is so much stronger. You know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of how, to me, numerology gives you a much more accurate representation of someone's overall vibe, and their astrology can come out in different ways. So it gives it more detail. Does that make sense?
Also, I too had that where as I'm learning and unfolding what astrology is, like obviously we dive deep in our own charts, but then we look at the people around us, and I felt like I learned so much in astrology just to remember what each sign's traits were and like the differences, and like really start to separate each sign based off of the people around me, who my friends are, who I'm dating, what I'm attracted to, and all those levels, who my parents are and their signs and the restrictions in that. And I started to look and study the world in that way too. So it's interesting you say that like bartending was the way to do that, because I mean you're exposed to so many people, and you kind of get the inside eye, and like you get to listen to people's conversations as you walk by, and get those little details out. But yeah, I kind of want to just think more about how numerology is separate from astrology, because you keep like you relate these signs to a number too. And how did you draw those conclusions, and how did you study it?
Yeah, so so there's like two sects of astrology, or two different branches. Chaldean is really old, and they have a different kind of way that they number the letters. We all use Pythagorean for the most part, which is you just start A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and add a number to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then each number is associated with a ruling planet. That's all kind of book numerology. But then, if you just look at people, if you look at women specifically that have a masculine number like one, they're going to be expressive. If you look at men that have a two, they're going to be like artsy, sensitive types. Mm-hmm. And it was like just that relation. Oh, wow. Then one of my favorite things to do is celebrities, because celebrities, you have access to all of their information for the most part. You get to see them in interviews, you get to see them in their craft. That is like one of the best things any young numerologer can do. So, like, one of the things I found out is that the number one number that I see in celebrity is 9. Mm. Why is that? I mean, I've been trying to answer that question for a while, and I have my theories. But also, why are all of the best comedians 3s? Why? Like, I'm not talking about just some of them. Well, it's the child number. They
the Joker, the clown, yeah.
Children don't take life seriously. It's just a big playground for them to play with.
Yeah.
And in order to get on stage in front of somebody and tell a joke and bare your soul, I think you kind of have to have the delusion of a child. Mm. Why are all the people that want to be parents or are good parents 6s?
Mm-hmm. I noticed that one too.
It's because it's associated with, it's just something that I notice. It's like, I see someone's a 6, I'm like, I believe in it so much, I'm like, you need to be a parent. All of the 6s in the world, if you're watching, you need to have children. We need you to raise good children.
Y'all are just made for it. You're built different.
So it was that same observation, and it was mostly astrology for a long time. But I would see weird things about astrology that with numbers, it's way more accurate.
There's so much generalization with astrology too, where it's like, I'm a Cancer, and so I am, everything's swept under the rug or something like that. But it's like, that's not necessarily true, because you could have Cancer in one placement of your chart and then that's it, and that's barely affecting anything.
So, like, you're exactly right. You can't just say, I'm a Cancer in this way. And I get the fascination with doing that because people maybe just have a passing interest in it, and they just want to say, oh, and some of those traits can maybe translate.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I know, maybe other astrologers talk about it, and I know I'm going off a little bit on astrology, but
It's
like
necessary.
if you're in a feminine avatar, I have noticed that the moon and Venus have way more of an expression of who they are as a person than their Sun and Mars. It's not that Sun and Mars aren't affected; they are. I have so many examples of this in celebrities and everything. With men, because you're in a masculine avatar, it really is Mars and Sun. But the way that the feminine planets come out is different, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So to say because you're a Virgo Sun that you're all Virgo traits are in there, but you have a lot of Aries traits, a lot of them.
I honestly feel so much better when I'm in Aries, and Aries is my moon, so
and it's one of the reasons why you live your life and do the things you do. It's so Aries-like.
But also, so would 1 be considered an Aries number? Yeah. So continue on. You got up to 3, and let's keep going to.
So 4
Yeah.
is like, okay, so 4 is the number of basically order, discipline, and rules. So if you find 4 people, also hard work, this is the workaholic side, or the workaholic number. So 4s usually are grinders. They're building things. It's also a power number. These are they're very well attuned for how Earth is really right now, which is status, money, wealth. Yeah, so that's 4. Like for instance, think of it. It's also law and order, kind of justice. If you think about the United States birthday, it's July 4th. What are we built on? Like hard work. You're going to work until you die, and it's law and order, buddy, for better or worse. So that's how I think about 4. 5, it's in the middle of the 1 through 9. So it's freedom. It's like this. If you're going up a hill, 5 is like this floaty feeling. 5s are people who hate being tied down. They want to do what they want to do. Pretty intelligent. There's a creative aspect to this number, although it doesn't have to necessarily be like I'm an artist or anything. But that's their theme. Their theme is definitely they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. That's 5. Wow, was this on before? Did I accidentally turn it off? Yeah, so my fat finger turned it off. Yeah.
Oops. So we're at 5.
Yeah. So 5. I'll just go over 5 so you can actually hear it. But 5 is freedom. The way I kind of think about it is 1 through 9. 5 is right there in the middle, and it's like this apex point when you're coming back down, where it just is this floaty kind of gravity. That's its main theme. I want to be free to do what I want to do when I want to do it. There's a level of creativity to this. They can be, although not necessarily artists. They're usually not the dumbest person in the room. I'm not going to call them Einstein, but so yeah, 5s are just the other thing also, which I've found there's a little bit of correlation through. Usually people who are models are 5s. They add up their numbers and they end up coming out to a 5.
How does that?
I don't know.
Correlate? Okay.
I have no idea. It's just there's 2 numbers that I've noticed that people who are physically attractive have. We'll get to the other one soon. And then 6, we've always talked, that's the family number, the parental number, the number of family, right? Of taking care, nurturing. Because of that, another thing with 6s is they're prone to gain weight because they're homebodies. I really think of the sign of Cancer when I think about this sign. It's a homebody that wants to nurture and take care of things. And they should be parents. They should be taken care of for sure.
They're like the kaphas. 6s are like the kaphas of
Yeah.
Numerology meets Ayurveda.
That doesn't mean that if you're a 6, you're going to gain weight. It just means something to watch for because they usually like food and drink and
probably comfort, like a little bit of luxury.
Yeah.
Is it related to Taurus?
Yes. So 6 is ruled by Venus.
Oh, see, it makes sense.
So I'm pretty sure it's ruled by Venus. At least the way I think about it is. I kind of think some numbers have a couple of different planets associated personally. Because like the next number I'm pretty sure is Uranus, which is 7. And 7 is the beginning of the last 3 numbers, which to me get into really important things. So there's really 12 numbers, but we're just working on the first 9, and you can break up 9 into sets of 3. So the first set of 3 was kind of what I call the interpersonal. It's the self, or the masculine energy, the female energy, the child. And then you have hard work, kind of freedom, creativity, making money, the family. Now you get to 7. 7 is the number of the loner, is the best way to think about it.
It is me.
Yeah, that's your life path. You're exactly right.
It is I.
a lot of my female friends specifically are 7s.
What's your number?
My life path's a 28, which reduces to a 1. So you add 2 plus 8 to get 10.
We're gonna get there.
Okay, cool.
I don't confuse them.
Okay, yeah, I won't.
We're at 7.
So you have 2 main numbers. I'm born on the 9th, so I'm a pure 9. And then my life path is 28, which reduces to a 1.
We'll get deeper in that.
Yeah, but 7 is the number of the loner, and there's usually a few ways you think about this. It's either the genius, because if you think about, this is someone who enjoys a lot of alone time. When you have a lot of alone time, you have your mind or your things to keep busy. They're usually the most intelligent sign, or they're deeper thinkers. So they can be philosophical, or they can be scientific or mathematical, or they can be spiritual. They can really delve into any one of those topics, but they're usually deep divers and lifelongers in one or multiple of those. So 7s either become these yoga teachers, spiritual gurus. They study the ancients. They're really learned, right? Or they become like Elon Musk is a double 7, like a super genius in technology and science. Or so you have the genius, spiritual guru, the loner. So just someone that's philosophical, like so someone who's very philosophical. So they think about things on a grander scale and usually come to conclusions that most people don't, because you have to spend a lot of time to do that. You have to go through those problems. So 7 is like the first of like the transformational numbers, is what I like to call them. So we're getting into, which we'll talk about why this transition happens. But so that's 7s. The other thing with 7, I should say, there's always like kind of a negative. 7s are usually prone to health problems. And I think it's because they focus so much energy into another thing, they oftentimes cannot eat or not eat the right things or have unhealthy patterns. So it's really important for a 7 to balance things out. So yeah, that's just one of the caveats. And if you're ever in a personal 7 year, you just need to lay low.
I've also learned too that 7s are more prone to depression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it comes sort of with isolation and with overthinking and obsession sort of deep into the mind, really.
100%.
And obviously, like what you were saying too, it's like we leave the body. We're all up here. So it's hard to sort of remember those physical things.
Yeah, because these people operate a lot inside of their spiritual body and their mental body, they really can push themselves. And so they just have to be careful. It's just fine balance with that stuff for sure. You can always think about it after you eat a meal or did an exercise.
I usually feel better after I eat too.
So
Crawl out of the wormhole of knowledge. I think I'm more like the knowledge seeker for sure. And obviously yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Call me out a little.
No, I think that's why a lot of my female friends are into yoga, and a lot of times they have one of these numbers. It's usually 7, 8, or 9, but all of those are transformational numbers. That we're getting into. So any of it's valid, really. A lot of 8s are actually maybe not yoga teachers, but they do yoga, right?
8s need it.
Yeah, exactly. Because 8 is like Scorpio's number. 8 is the number of transformation. It's of karma. What goes around comes around. When I see somebody with 8 numerology, which there are a lot of people with this, like probably one of the more common signs I just see in general life, when I'm like, oh, you're a 35, 3 plus 5 is 8, or you're a 26, or you're born on the 26th. These people have a direct line to karma in a very fast way. My theory is because they probably didn't deal with karma that well in past lives. So now they're forced or chosen in this life. You're going to have a direct line to this stuff. So you can understand how this works. Like if a lot of times I see 8s be very greedy and they don't have money, or they make good money and they're constantly have this thing with money. The really transformative ones are they give the most, right? It's nuts. It's a very strong money sign. This is the other number that I see a lot of attractive people have. And 5 is like the book answer, but I see a lot of 8s too. A lot of 8s are usually pretty attractive. And I think it's because they have good karma.
My
You know,
two boyfriends.
are they?
My last boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, a lot of times, like,
Or one before him, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like both my mom and dad are 8 life path, and they were beautiful people. I mean, they really were good looking people. I'm
Can
like,
we pause though? I want to sort of dive into what is transformed and not transformed, or like we say in astrology, like the ascended part of the sign or the non ascended part of the sign. What do you
oh,
mean when you say that?
yeah. So this one is like almost okay. If you think about just, we haven't gone into how the numbers look. Just to go back, 6, the reason they gain weight is it looks like a big belly on the side. That's why it's also the mom,
Pregnant.
the pregnant.
Mm.
Sevens are kind of bringing this energy from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top. 8 is literally the infinity sign on its side. So really they are functionally, they live lives of great ups and downs. Even when
Mm.
they're up, the only way to go is down. And
Mm.
when you're down, the only way to go is up. And their lives are these yo-yos on purpose. They almost get yanked all the time back and forth. So if you're an 8 and that's happening to you, your job is to sit in the middle part of that 8 and understand this thing and come into balance with that. The best way to do that was with some kind of spiritual practice, meditation. One of the ways I tell people that you can feel this is physically give money to someone who has less than you. I don't care how much you have. This is a way to
Mm.
kind of hack it and for you to kind of slow down and see, oh, wow, that made me feel good, you know? And it might be weird at first, because you really need to give to a point where you're not expecting anything in return. And because your life is so up and down, I think inherently they think, oh, when I do this, there is a reaction. So that's one way that you can kind of mitigate this on a very real, practical level. The other way is just understanding that your life is going to be up and down a lot.
Yeah, and the Scorpio aspect is
Mm-hmm.
you've got it deep.
Yeah,
You have to go deep. You're gonna find the most transformation and healing in the depth of it too, and
exactly.
transmuting those situations. But how does someone look at themselves as transcended or not? Like, is it like shadow side light, like shadow
Yeah,
eight?
no, that's that. Yeah, this is why spiritual practice is so important. I think with 8 is because you have to be able to see your dark side. You like, and the only way to do that that I know of is some people can help you. Maybe like listening to this might help you. Having a tarot reading and objectively listening to the advice. Something I didn't do very well at first, but I do now. You have to take it for what it is and be easy on yourself if you don't understand and keep searching for the answer. The great thing about 8s is if they get interested in something, they're interested and they're going to deep dive. So yeah, the transcended energy would be mitigating those yo-yos through your spiritual force. And that's the thing, it can apply to anything. Like for instance, maybe someone that's an 8 wants to start a business
Mm.
and they think that just because Gary Vaynerchuk says all you got to do is grind, you can do that. That might burn you out. Maybe that's not how it's going to work for you. Or maybe you want to get in shape and you go and you bust your ass for 1 week and you gain a pound and you go, well, this doesn't work.
Mm.
Transformation takes time, and so the shadow work stuff all of us need to do. It's a constant kind of battle. But this is why I tell people divination. So divination might astrology, yoga, numerology, tarot reading, I Ching, something that gets yourself out of the physical material world and into this unseen world will always help this stuff because it helps you to make sense of it. And it took me 3 or 4 modalities before I found what I liked,
Mm-hmm.
like I was a good tarot reader, but I hated it, personally, I love tarot as a tool.
I kind of feel the same way,
Yeah.
but
I use it to educate people on certain things,
yeah,
but for
and
me,
myself.
right. And I could do it, but
Yeah.
it's numerology is way better because there's just, it's like I can hone in on it. I don't know what it's going to be for Nate.
So we're at 9.
Yeah. 9. So 9 is the last of those major numbers, the last of the transformational numbers. And 9 is its theme is adaptation. So if you go read online, it'll say they're humanitarians. And that's definitely a path for 9, but it has to overcome a lot of bullshit in order to get to that thing. I'm living proof of that.
Mm.
I have Virgo on my chart, which is kind of humanitarian energy, but 9 is Mars. It's active. It's probably in the top 3 of intelligence. Its strength and intelligence, though, is usually psychology and other people and like game theory and strategy. Like, for instance, every freaking NFL coach in the top 10 is a 9, with the exception of 1-7. So to me, 9 is the second most intelligent number, but it thinks about things on a strategic way. This is its best use. All of the best poker players in the world are 9s. They're 9s, guys. And then celebrities, because they're adaptation. And if you think about the similar thing between there, if I tried to be a celebrity, a musician, you got to have thick skin, and you got to be able to like think on your feet and adapt. And you might play gigs for 2 years, and then someone calls you, says, "Hey, can you be at this gig?" And you got to fucking drop everything and go do that. That's all 9 stuff. 9's very active and moving.
What are 9 celebrities, or who are 9 celebrities?
Oh my God, I have a
just name
list.
A few.
So Bob Marley, dude, I can go down the list. Fred Durst is. Yeah. Jonathan Davis is. These are some of the bands I grew up. Yeah, I'm showing you my age. I literally have a list of like 200 that I could just read off on my phone. But there are, I'm trying to think of the one I was just looking, Nina Dobrev. She's actually a pretty attractive actress. So many of them, or 33 is another one, which we'll get to. But yeah, 9s are the real strong 9s are poker players and NFL players. Even the players are 9s. It's really, really nuts. Because it's Mars energy, so it's pretty masculine. So that's its positive kind of trait, is what we were just talking about. Its negative trait, drugs. Drugs, alcohol, escapism like you've never seen. 9s have this ability to withstand. They're adaptable, so they can withstand a lot of pain and pressure. This is one of the reasons I think they choose football. And if you've ever played poker, I mean, the most brutal thing you could ever do. You can be up $3 million and lose it all in one hand. And so I think you have to have really thick skin to do that. But they usually kind of supplement that stuff with escapism, big time escapism.
And something you've taught me too is just looking 1 through 9. 1 is like the baby, sort of, the newborn, and then 9 is like, what would you consider that, or even break that down for us?
Yeah. So the Chaldeans, that we don't really use, they actually thought it was the other way, 9 through 1. But in Pythagorean, it's 1 through 9. And to me, that makes more sense. And you can do this at home. If you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, it'll add up to 36. And 3 plus 6 is 9. So all of the other numbers are encompassed in 9. And there's some other weird things when you start adding up numbers that way. So 9, the way I see 9 is like the graduating class, like you're going through high school, right? 1, 2, 3, 1 is the initiation. It's like you are born, I am a 1. I'm me. You now have this awareness of self. It's a very beautiful place to be in, because this is why 1s have such a strong independence and sense of self, right? And it's not necessarily it's kindergarten. It's kind of an imperfect thing, but they're pure. 1 is so pure. It is what it is. It's the self. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. 2, you start learning, how do I relate to others?
Sensitive.
3, well, how do I make others laugh? Or how do I make others view me?
It's like learning how to walk.
Right.
You're
so
like, I'm going to fall down.
So 1 is like self. Yeah, exactly. 1 is self. 2 is everybody else. But how do I get everyone else to look at me? That's why another thing with comedians I think is strong. And then 4, now it's more about working yourself, making something of yourself, hard work. Through that hard work, you realize, oh, my time off is mine, freedom, 5. But who am I going to share this freedom with? 6, a family. But now we get to the transformational type. Is this all there is?
7.
7. Is this all that there is? Is it just I work and I have a family? It's not that it's not rewarding, but is this all there is?
Welcome to my life.
Right. So this is why it's philosophical and it's spiritual and it wants more
creative,
alone time. Exactly. It can
7
be.
can be very creative.
Yeah, 7s are at the beginning of where I feel like you can do it. There's quite a few people who are very creative and transformative. I'm pretty sure like Arnold Schwarzenegger is born on the 25th. And, he's done some things, but if you really think about what he did in life, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And there's other ones too. And then 8 is like you're transforming into the 9, where you have all of the issues. This is why 8 is kind of really hard, because you're transforming, you're understanding these energies outside of the physical material from the spiritual world. And then 9, I think this is one of the reasons why they escape, because they feel invincible. Like, I understand the secrets to the universe now, inherently or not. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
It's almost like a power that people aren't aware that they have, though.
Exactly.
So if you're 9 out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
check yourself.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. Because what ends up happening after this 9 is you get into the master numbers.
Before we go into master
Yeah.
numbers, because we kind of did this backwards, which is great because that means y'all just have to rewatch it. You have to go back in time. Um, you're still good. I'll let you know if it's flashing.
Sweet.
So, how does someone figure out their numbers from the birth date number, and
Yeah.
then what you're talking about, that master number?
Yeah. So if you most numerologers will tell you both numbers just kind of mean the same thing, and I don't necessarily think that that's wrong, but I think we can do a little bit better. And the
Yeah.
way that I kind of see it is that just the day you're born. So she's born on the 10th, so she's a 10, but we remember we only talked about 1 through 9. So how we would reduce 10 is you just add individual integers up, or the individual number. So 1 plus 0 is 1, she's a 1. I'm born on the 9th, so mine's easy. Mine's just a 9, right? But let's say if you were born on the 25th, you would add 2 plus 5 to get 7. If you're born on the 17th, you would add 1 plus 7 to get 8. That's how you figure out. I kind of loosely call this your soul number. In numerology, they have a soul number already, but it's just a better, this is who you are. Like, this is your base kind of like, this is what I fall back on. This is my expression. Okay. The life path is kind of a hat you're trying on in this life, or a job, or this energy that you're kind of growing into. It's a little bit more complex to come up with the life path, but you just add up the individual digits in the entire birthday, month, day, year. Okay. And it'll come to a number, usually a compound number, meaning 2 numbers. So like I can use you, for instance. So her birthday is September 10th, 1995. If you add 9 plus 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 5, all of that adds up to a 34. And then we don't have, I mean, we kind of read the compound numbers a little bit, but that's kind of advanced. To get the actual life path number, we add 3 plus 4 to get 7. Her life path is a 7. If you do that with mine, it'll come to a 28. 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. You just keep reducing it down. I know I went through that quick, but 1 is the only number that does that. So this is the other thing about 1, why I think it's a more complex number than people say, because if you add up all of the individual numbers in my birthday, it's 28. 2 plus 8 is 10. We don't have a 10. We need to add that again. 1 plus 0 is 1. So 19 will reduce to a 10 to a 1. 28 will reduce to a 10 to a 1. 37 will add up. I think I've only ever seen 146. So after that, I've seen a couple of 44s and 46s, but it's really rare. You have to be born like at the end of the year in 1999.
So also talk about what if it adds up to 11, and 11 versus breaking that down to
Yeah.
2.
So if you add up all of those individual numbers in your birthday and you get an 11 or a 29, because 2 plus 9 is 11, or a 38, 3 plus 8 is 11, you don't reduce it past an 11. That's where you stay, because we call that a master number. And there's only 3 master numbers: 11, 22, 33. Some numerologists use 44. I don't. So 11 is the next thing. So 1 through 9, now we have 11. And 11 I kind of see as you've graduated high school and you're getting ready to start college. So you have all of, remember what you were like when you were about to start college. You're like, I'm finally done with that bullshit. But then they're like, well, you got these classes. What's your major? You know, you've grown into your body to where hopefully you're somewhat attractive and not a bucktooth, you know, whatever. And some people are further on, but you have all of this possibility. That's what 11 represents. 11 is the number of potential. You have all of the lessons of 1 through 9 inherent in you. It's the most common master number. And now you have like, what am I going to do with all this? Well, I don't know, right? So you could see, some astrologers would say, okay, we don't do this, but 1 and 1 adds to 2. So it's kind of a hidden 2, but with a superpower. I don't see it that way. I see it as 2 ones. And it's a dichotomy of being pulled. I have all this knowledge, but I don't know if I want to do this. It's almost like you have 2 egos. You're like, whoa, what am I going to do? Am I going to be this person? Am I going to be that person?
If you recognize it, though. Sometimes people are just sleeping on it.
But 11s are also the number of charisma. So these people have usually really charismatic personalities. This is also a number I see, like probably the easiest one to see this is Joe Rogan, the biggest podcaster in the world, is born on the 11th.
Mm.
So whether you like him or not, but there's plenty of people that are out there that have an 11 and are celebrities, singers, dancers, actors, politicians, because they can do anything. They really can. There's not one set of things they go, but they're usually really good interpersonally. That's that 1 and 1. But they don't, it's the problem with 2 is sometimes 2 can get too interwoven in the other person, and deep and codependency happens, where 1 has a very strong sense of self. And so hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
does.
like, that's what I've observed in 11s personally. I think it's stronger to just observe and see what you see, and then kind of make sense of it that way. I'm not saying that's the only way to think about it, but because I can see both, but yeah.
I mean, you've definitely studied a lot of broad sources too. So
Yes, celebrities in the bar. Yeah. I mean, have you ever know? I'm trying to think of others. I have a list of all these, but there's certain celebrities you're like, that is just a charming mofo. Like,
Yeah.
how are you this charismatic, man? Oh, you're fucking born on the 29th. So, but see, the other thing with an 11 is you can be born on the 11th. So you could have the birthday of October 11th or February 11th. So that you would have an 11 that way too. So you could actually be born on the 11th and then have all your numbers add up to 11, and that would be like a double 11, which usually those people they've probably incarnated in the 11 before but haven't learned all of its lessons, so they have like a double energy for it because they really have a focus on that, because you're trying to transform into the highest order of the master numbers. I kind of see this as, I read a book a long time ago about past lives, and I can't remember, but the way that this person did it was like 5 sets, and it made a lot of sense to me at the time. The way I would see if you're incarnated 11 is you're at the end of the 4th set or at the beginning of the 5th set. You're really at the time where you're connected to the universe. You have a deeper understanding of things, and you're trying to learn that last bit so you can go back home. It was a book I read a long time ago, and I can't remember. It just sticks out in my mind. It was a really cool book on reincarnation. But
let's talk more about master numbers,
yeah.
because I had a hard time understanding the difference between my birthday being a 10, making me a 1, and then what 7 represented for me. And so, like you said, master numbers, like your life path, and how does that differentiate between, like, sort of like almost like sun and moon in astrology? How does that differentiate?
Yeah, so I would see, I would see like the day you're born as more of like those we didn't go into this in astrology, but your interpersonal planets, which would be like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Those more have to do with not your karma so much, but has to do a lot with just how you function in this 3D reality, right? Their characteristics, personality traits, interests, those things. The outer planets start getting more into your karmic path and the moon's nodes and stuff, in more of like, why am I here? That's what I think the life path is. The life path is like, I'm here to spend some time alone, right? I'm here to figure some mysteries out to the universe. I'm like using yours.
Yeah, you can use me as
an
example.
So I'm here, and it's not inherent to you. It's there. One is who you are. I'm going to do this. I'm a go-getter. I'm going to go do the thing I want to do.
Yeah.
I have strong boundaries of who makes me me, but the 7 is more like, but maybe I don't know who I am. Maybe
life's contradiction.
Right. And that's why you have that. And you can have, I would say yours, 7 has no natural soulmate because it's the loner. But I don't think 7 and 1 is a terrible combo, because you have a strong sense of self, and you just need to spend more time alone. And there's some other things in your chart that has to do with relational things. But I don't think the combo of 7 and 1 are bad. 7 and 2, well, I mean, it's probably a little bit better for 7 than it is 2. But there's certain combos. I'm like, 7 and 11 is not too bad either, because it's kind of like 2 1s. So yeah, you're just meant, your life is going to be a lot about figuring things out and spending time alone and meditation and trying to understand some of these.
Well, almost for me, to access the 1, I have to go to 7 every time, because it's like I have to go inward. I have to spend that time to recharge and reconnect, read some books, do some yoga, meditate, breathe, and find those modalities that sort of make me feel like I'm learning something, I'm stimulated, and also just like that personal time to like be in my brain. Like a long car ride where I can stare out the window, peak.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? But it's like going into the hermit, which I can get lost there and very unproductive, but going back to that one side of me helps me like show everything I learned and put it out in the world. And then when I'm ready to put it out in the world, it's fiery and I'm like, fuck yeah, like let's go.
That's sick.
I'm gonna do it. Or like I've noticed in jobs too, like I honestly usually take on like a leader position, but I also feel like I've spent so much time in self-study that when I'm in that position, one is almost like how I'm out in the world when I feel really good out in the world. When I feel sort of depressed and that withdrawn 7, I'm not really feeling social, I'm not really feeling in the world, and like I can show up today. But like when I am in a job or something that I feel really confident in, or I'm doing something I feel confident, I feel that one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you can start to look and like apply these to your own life. Start to think about your friends, start to think about your personality and how these traits will show up, because it's kind of cool. We don't get to just be one, but it's more definitive. I don't really resonate with any other of the numbers. Once you go deeper with me and talk more about, like, I've had so many conversations with Josh already about this. And like, once he started to really dissect into it and tell me more about each number, it's like I couldn't be any other number.
No, no,
Like this just, it makes sense. The balance of it, the fluidity of it. Like, and then when I meet people in my life and I hear their stories or get to know them, I start to realize too, like, oh, you are that number. That makes sense. Yeah. And it's 2 numbers.
There's a lot of powerful females in the world that are ones. Ones, if you're a female in a female avatar and you're a 1, not only do you have the tenacity and the ability to sit in a male's world, because it's still a male's world in a lot of ways. You not only should you seek that out, you would be really good at it, because you're almost like hidden, because they just expect you to be a dainty little pretty girl, but you're a freaking 1. You have all of the energy of there might be the head of a company that's a 2 and is very feminine and isn't very masculine, that you can go in. My favorite version of this, she's a double 1, is Ronda Rousey. Okay. Ronda Rousey goes and basically makes MMA for women a big hit. Now she's a double 1 and she has a big ego. That's another thing, because double 1s have really big egos. And her fall from grace was pretty strong because she didn't have a lot. But dude, there were people saying that she could beat half the guys because that's how dominant she was. Lori Greiner on Shark Tank is a 1, and she's with only female, and I think she's a billionaire at this point.
We're the entrepreneurs, y'all. Yeah. We're meant to go out in the world and do it ourselves. Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I'm sure I was really curious about this too. Everyone kind of wants to know, like, what numbers are good with each other and compatible, because, you know.
Yeah, so there's trines inside there, and all you have to do to know the numerology trines is just look at an old telephone. Those are the trines: 147, 258, 369.
You never told me that before.
Yep. And then 11, 22, 33. Those would be the other trines. But remember how I said 5s are seen as like really hot? This is why I think 8s are, because they're in the same trine. And I've noticed 2s are, but 2s are just usually really feminine. And that's not necessarily, in general, what is the most attractive anymore seen on there's a lot of girls who are into bodybuilding and muscle, and there's a lot of guys that are into that look now. So I think 2s have kind of fallen off, but 2s also are very attractive.
So what numbers like directly are compatible? Just name a few, and then why?
Any of those trines within there would be compatible.
Yeah.
So 3s and 6s, 6s, 9s, 1, 4, and 7. Even though 7 has no known soulmate, 4 and 1 are probably its best compatible ones. But yeah, 4 and 1, hard work, go getter. Hell yeah. I mean, that goes together really well.
I feel like 1 and 6 would be a complex one, because 1 is so independent and driven, and it's like, no one's going to stop me from my dreams and my goals. And then 6 is like, but wait, I want to settle down and have a family and kind of relax a little bit. And 1 is like, get up. You're boring. Like, you're too slow.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There are some alternate ones too that I forget.
Or 1 and 1, I think you told me, was a pretty toxic combo, but I feel like that could either be toxic, or like y'all have a business together and you're either butting heads but getting it done, or you're thriving.
1 and 1 could work. Absolutely. 1 and 9. And so many of my friends are either 1s or 9s. I've found, like 1 and 8. No, because 8 is transforming and 1's like, fuck that. I'm not transforming shit. I'm going to go conquer the world. 8s, once they start transforming, can have really hard lives for a bit, where they're emotional and they don't understand things. And one's like, how do you not understand? Go out and kick ass. It's not that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like 8 and 9, because it's adaptable, it's kind of like Libra, the zodiac. Libra can be with any sign. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for Libra, but because Libra is such a giver, it's like, oh, what's good for you is what's good for me. 9 is kind of like that. 9 is adaptable, so it can kind of be with anything. But yeah, like I would say the strongest ones, 2 and 6 would go together, but someone's got to figure out how to make money in that relationship, even though it's not part of the same trine. I would say 8 and 4 for sure. I forgot about that one. That's the second strong soulmate number. Because here's the thing, when 8 finishes its transformation, when it does, think about 4. It's grounded, hardworking, it's stable. 8 is transformative. When 8 goes through its transformer, it's like command and power and expression. That's how that thing
But I
kind of
think it's
comes
a
out.
good use of the power.
Yeah.
And it's not like egoic Leo anymore. It's more like just a good use. Like they
Mhm.
know how to show up as a leader
Yeah.
and a boss or something. Like I'm just thinking of work, but
Yeah. I forgot about that one. That one's really strong. I remember I haven't done as many compatibility studies
mhm.
as I've
This is
done
just
on individual, but I
curiosity.
remember seeing that one a lot in like power couples.
Yeah.
Like holy shit, a 4 and an 8. There we go. And they're really usually have strong reputations and a lot of money. So
Mhm.
1s and 9s are more like the hot celebrity or best friends. You know, like, oh dude, those two are fucking
Could be like
buddies.
the wise combo too, because one is always achieving and striving to know more. I mean, maybe a one thinks they're the best and the bee's knees and all
Yeah.
that, but there's always something to be learned, and like a 9 could definitely teach.
1s are not necessarily wrong
But
thinking
I
they're
feel
wrong.
like a 1 and a 2, hard no.
Yeah, that one's
It's too sensitive.
that one should work. That one's going to be really good for 2. 2 would be attracted to 1's traits.
I think a lot of them would be attracted to 1 just because
Hmm.
we're out doing it.
Hmm. Exactly. And 2's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, that would be really awesome. But like 2 can kind of get on 1's problems. Like,
Mhm.
you're so sensitive. What the fuck? Stop with the bullshit.
Yeah.
I got shit to do, person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 3s are probably someone that would be really hard to date, that they're, unless you really like someone that's funny and goofy and not takes things seriously, you know. I think that see that trine works really well, especially like with 9s. Really, 9 is adaptable, so it can be with anything. But I don't necessarily think you want to date a 9 until they've actualized. But like 3 and 9 would be funny. 9's like, oh, you're always fun. Oh, that's awesome. I think like 3 and 6 might be a little difficult, but maybe not. 6 stays at home, has the kids. 3's out, having a good time. Life would be pretty light in that combo.
Something you've really enlightened me to think about is that each year has a number. So if you're familiar, how we just got out of the year of the snake, which was 9, and now we're into the year of the horse, which is a 1. So collectively, we are in a 1 year. That means from January 1st to December 31st, right? That's a 1
Exactly.
year for everyone. But your individual birthday depicts what year you are in. And so, Josh, I want you to explain how someone would find out what year they're currently in. And then also something that you taught me was that doesn't start on January 31st. That starts on your birthday.
Yeah,
So,
that's actually something new. I actually got a numerology reading going into my 9 year a couple of years ago, just because I was like, and he kept saying, you're in a 9 year. I'm like, I am not in a 9 year. I am in a 1 year,
yeah.
because that's how she taught me. He goes, well, think about it. He goes, you were born on this date, October 9th, 1980. Yeah. Well, you're not in 2025 yet. You're in 24, because it's in July, dude. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So in astrology, we just pretend that the day you were born is the start of that universe, right? It doesn't matter that it started that year. That's when it starts. It all is based on that. So why wouldn't your numerology be? Totally makes sense. And when I did an audit on my life, I've known about these numerology cycles for 2 9-year cycles, which is something we got to talk about later. But I was always acting like my 1 year was my 9 year. 1 year, you should start new shit. 9 year, you should not start new shit. You should plan new things. So no wonder the shit didn't work. So yeah, don't make my mistake. So basically, if you just take any year, regardless of somebody's birthday, so we're in the year 2026, if you just add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6, you get 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So we would call that a universal 1 year. So the overarching collective energy of humanity is in a 1. What is 1 in terms of this? Go after things. Get out of your comfort zone. Pursue the thing. You should have planned in your 9 year to then act on your 1 year. In a 1 year, there's a lot of very powerful moves being done this year on a universal scale, because I think either people know this and they use it for themselves, but if you still got some time this year till the end of the year, if you need to start a business, start it now.
And we're talking about the collective one. So everyone,
Yeah.
we are all in this right now. So this is the year to start making those plans.
Right.
I would say not even that you have to really initiate or put it into effect yet, but like start thinking about it if you haven't.
Yeah.
Like use the time. We're not even halfway through. It's not July yet. We're almost there. But
Yeah.
this is the time to start thinking about what the next 9 years as a collective are going to look like. And that's how the same way you can think about your birthday. So how would someone get their birthday year then?
I'll say the easy example so you can see this, because if you were born May 1st, right, of, it doesn't matter what year, May 1st of 1980, let's just say, whatever year you're in. So right now you would add 5 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 to get the vibration year you're in. So the subset of energy for that year. So that would be 5 plus 1, 6 plus, that would be a 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So you would be in a 7 personal year, what we call a personal vibration year, on top of being in the collective 1 year.
Yeah.
But the one you should focus on is your personal vibration year, because that, you're living your life. Be aware of the bigger one. But like, if you were born like my birthday or her birthday in September or October of 1980, it doesn't matter. Like that year, you're just calculating on this year. Well, we haven't had our birthday this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we would not use 2026. It's funny because I'm 10-9, she's 9-10. So it's the same thing. So we would just 9 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. And if you add that up, what is that? Yeah, that's a 19. And 1 plus 9 is 10. So we are in a 1 personal vibration year. So from your birthday, the last year you had a birthday in is where you calculate that from.
Yeah. So you're adding your birth month, your birthday, and then you would add the current year. So if I did 2026 is what Josh is saying, that means when I turn 31, which is in September, I'm going into a 2 year.
Yep.
But right now, currently, because it's not September yet, I'm in a 1 year.
Yep.
So that's how that works. So that's why he did 2025 instead of 2026.
Yep.
So right now I'm in this 1 year, and collectively, luckily, it's lining up.
Yeah.
Collectively, it's lining up for me that it's a 1 and a 1. So I'm really starting new things. Hence, podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is it was something I was thinking about too last year. And I think just an observation I've made too is like a cycle of like who you are in dating too, which is kind of interesting. Like 9 years worth of dating.
Yeah.
Whether you're with the same person, you weren't, and then also dating that person who's also going through different years, their own numerology, and how that's working out. And when you want to think comprehensively about this, which is we're just going to get deep right now, like if you're dating someone, I'm on a 1 year and I'm dating someone in a 6 year or something, our life paths are going to be a little different, and the challenges he's going through are going to be different than my challenges and my growth that I'm going through. And that doesn't mean it's necessarily incompatible, but it's something to think about when you're dating. Like, where is your partner in terms too? And friends too.
Yeah.
Friendships. It doesn't have to just be romantic, like where are they at? And also maybe look to these people as a support too, of like, okay, I'm in my 1 year, or if someone was in their 1 year and I wasn't, like how can we like kind of use the energy of that too? Like how can that be compatible, where it's like maybe someone in a 6-year or 7-year has like a different look and perspective on something where I want to get to.
Right.
And that could be an interesting way to use numerology too. It's not just like a personality and how we show up in the world, but like, how do we coexist? And that's why the collective right now, we just keep talking year of the horse, year of the horse. But like, what does that really mean for everybody?
Yeah.
And then look at politics, look at, which I don't love, but like, look at the way the earth is shaping itself and like what everything is happening this year. We're having a lot of beginning things happening and a lot of that shedding of the old. I mean, I personally love too, just breaking it down to like, what transformation am I having in my own life and what am I going through in my own life? But it's always bigger than you too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always so much going on. And that's why this is such a complex science. And
this is why I think everyone should study it and just get the basics down.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of the things you'll hear me say is I know the positive, negative signs or traits of both all the signs, their placements, their thing. And I often say, why Aries energy just is a great example because it's so pure, likes to argue just for the sake of arguing sometimes. Why would I get mad at them for doing that when I see them doing that? I just know that's what they're being true. Same thing can be said for numerology. In a 1 year, a personal vibration year, like if you are in a 1 year and your partner knows that and they're in an 8 year, well, they're having a rougher year. They're transforming. You're ready to go. But if you both understood that, you go, oh, you can be more empathetic and the other one can be more understanding. This is why people need to know it for these exact cycles.
Yeah.
I mean, the personality traits are cool, but this is one of the best uses of it. Exactly what you're bringing up.
And think about like that boss or that coworker that like pisses you off, and bringing like that empathy, like you said, to it. And maybe, you know, you don't want to ask them their birthday, but everyone's always going through something, you know?
Well, so check this out. At my current job, my two newest managers, one's a double one, the other one is a one. And they're both very ambitious, hardworking people that want to move up in the world. And in a way, they're more difficult to work for. But I understand that. So I'm playing the game. I'm on my P's and Q's. I know not to rattle the cage too much.
And you're the 9 that's seen it all.
I'm the one that's adapting to the situation while everyone else is going, man, these managers suck because they can't just do the same shit they do. This is why you need to understand this. Because I ask people their birthday and I go, oh, she's a double one. She means business. Like, I'm not going to mess around with that shit. Like, especially in the dynamic of her being my manager and I am just an employee. I am going to adapt to that situation. And guess what? I'm thriving because of it.
And it makes sense that why she's in that role and trying so hard to be there.
And I always give them compliments and I tell them how great they're doing. For the most part, they are doing a good job. But there's some things it's like, really, dude, this is what, but I'm not going to bring that up to them because I can influence them in a more subtle way. This is why you hear one of the sayings, I manipulate things. I'm not really manipulating things as much as I'm understanding the energy and just accordingly acting the way I should. Knowing where your place is at is really big, you know? So this is why you should study astrology for these exact cycles and understanding the cycles. If you are in a 7 year, I cannot stress this enough, be safe, cautious, and lay low because you are at an increased risk of dangerous things. In my 7 year, I got freaking shards of aluminum in my eye. Not on my fault, and there's nothing I could have done about it, but it was like, what the hell? In another 7 year, I was in a car accident that I survived. Crazy.
Oh, this just got interesting. Can you do quick math? And I want to see, I want to think about where I was in a 7 year.
Yeah. Well, it would have been 3 years ago. So,
Ooh.
So 2020, from 2025, 3 years ago. So 2022.
2022 was my 7 year?
Yeah, because 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 2022 is 6, 1 plus 6 is 7. Yep.
2022. Yeah, well, honestly, that's when everything started to completely fucking shatter.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like, yeah, I started the Saturn return thing, and man, I mean, that was when my whole world shattered, actually. So that's quite interesting.
In these cycles, they're the beginning of things breaking down. And so you just need to be cautious and know shit's going to break down because it's prepping you for your next 9 year cycle.
Go watch the Saturn's Return episode because that was my 7. That was the beginning of my 7 year. Yeah. If you don't believe in numerology, go check that out.
And there's greater cycles that all this stuff goes into because I use astro-numerological cycles, but that's for a different day. But you can just tap into these 9 year cycles. And in 7 years, things are starting to break down. The transformation in karma happens in the 8 year, which the way I describe that is think about you're going up an escalator on the same thing and then it stops. And you're like, shit, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep going?
Wow.
And as soon as you start walking up, the 9-year happens, and now you're walking up a down escalator.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, and 8, man.
Yeah.
That my 8th year personally, that's when I really beat myself down about everything. Went straight into that karmic loop and went straight to alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's total escapism stuff, and that's the negative side of 8 too.
I wasn't the ascended 8, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty gnarly because it can beat you up. The one thing I forgot to say about sevens can actually be really good years to make money if you follow its energy, which is lay low, be cautious, don't take risky investments. They're actually pretty good years if you work in a dangerous job, I wouldn't work more, but they're actually the beginning of the planning cycle. So that's when you can start really planning stuff. Or just the last 7 year I had was the most money I've made ever in my life. And I was like, oh, wow, this is nuts. But I got injured and I hurt. Actually, a lot of the issues I got that you've been working with me on all really got really intense that year.
For context, I'm a stretch therapist,
Yeah.
and Josh has been my client since I met you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
I want to go a little deep too. So you're on a 1 year now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think back to your last 1 year and those 9 years, and sort of can you sum up some darks, some lights, some truths, some like.
So in order for you to
where were you that 1 year versus now?
So because my 1 year actually started in 2025, right? That's what we're calculating my 1 year off of, not 26. All you have to do to find your last 1 year is subtract 9 years from that. That would put me at 2016. I can tell you exactly what I did in 2016.
Yeah, where were you? What were you doing?
Pretty crazy, but essentially, without getting too off topic with a twin flame, there was a bunch of bullshit that happened for a few years. And I went to this energy healing conference. And when was that? It was right around my birthday, actually, because I made it just in the nick of time on my 1 year. And I had this huge release. And I remember calling her up and I'm like, you are talking to me. You're not going to ignore me anymore. And she goes, and she tried to back out. I'm like, give me 30 minutes. It's all good. And I just was like, I don't care if you don't believe me. Here's the proof, all this astrology, numerology stuff. And I could just tell she was like, yeah, of course I believe it, but I don't know how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because she was an alcoholic at the time. And it was, for me, it was a huge release because I was trying to let her be. I was just trying to let her be. And it just got to the point where it was eating me alive. And as soon as I did that, I remember I went to Facebook and I'm like, first job I get outside of Bozeman, I'm leaving. And my buddy messaged me 30 minutes later. He was like, hey man, you want to come trim bud out in Oregon? I got a weed farm. I said, sold, put my 2-week notice in. I was out there 10 days before my 2 year started. Now it didn't materialize into what I wanted it to, but just in the nick of time with 9 days, I did something new. Right. And I think my gift from that was the last 9 years, I really ascended in my spiritual awareness and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a fun 9 years. I'll tell you that. It was not. But now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's where all of my development came through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and funny enough, if you go back to the other 9 year, my last 1 year is when I met my tarot teacher.
Mm.
So there we go. It's technically, I met her in the 9 year, but by the time I was done with the class and everything, and I was actually
2006.
reading. Yeah. So it's been about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the quick answer to it. You know, I don't know where you were at. I mean, you would have been in the same year, 2016.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this because didn't you say something like really? It's like it was a hard year or something for.
Oh man,
because we're back in 1. I don't know.
Well, no, it's a really hard year. So okay, 9s and 1s are the toughest years. 9s are tough in a way that everything, you should be destroying things.
Yeah.
Letting go and making amends to anybody that's wronged you. I don't care if it was the love of your life and they ripped your heart out 1,000,000 times. You have to forgive it and let it be. That's a 9 year. It's hard.
And this is why we became friends, because Josh became my therapist.
Yeah.
I ripped this man from my 9th year.
And it was hard. It was really hard for her.
It was the hardest relationship of my life.
Yeah. And it's and you get some leeway into the 1 year to dissipate that energy. I was taught 2 months, but I think you get a little bit more grace with that if you're attempting to do it. You know what I mean?
And the weird thing was that was an 8-year span relationship where like we sort of united and then dispersed. I knew him for 8 years,
Yeah.
and I would just see him and then not see him for years, and
Yeah.
then see him and not see him for years, and then it was like we got together
Yeah.
on in 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was 2023 because then I moved. Yeah, so it would be 2023, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
you got out of it.
yeah, it was hard, but yes,
No,
yeah,
but that's like see, this is the thing. I think a lot of people, I don't believe in hard line things.
yeah.
That's just, if you just look at life, life in a lot of ways is not, it's this way. So, like, I think if you're making an effort to understand the energy of the 9 year
Mm-hmm.
and just trying your best to get rid of that bullshit, you are doing more than 90% of people. And so you're going to get some leeway eventually, because my 1 year this year did not start off good. It started on my birthday, and I had another kind of like modality come into my play, and I was like, oh, this is what's wrong with me. And it was a brutal, like the first 6 months were pretty gnarly, but now it's starting to open up, right? And I can feel the pull. Like my 1 year's almost done. Like I got to start doing stuff, but like I don't just think because oh my god, I started my 1 year and it's all ruined. No, you have the 1 year to still deal with it.
And if you're just finding out about this, like there's still time, and like you said, there's no hard cutoff. But I
Mm-hmm.
think to that point too, I think what I realized is it carries into the one. So it's like if you
Mm-hmm.
don't get rid of your shit in year 9, you're just gonna carry it in to one.
Exactly.
And that's when it just becomes a steamroller of mud because you're not you're doing it all
Right.
wrong. And I think like what I was really in learning a lot from you and realizing in my own life is like if I don't let this go, like I'm not gonna give myself anything I really want
Right.
in life, and it's just gonna hold me back. And it's not to say like I got over it overnight, like it took a lot of time, but now that I did, like my 1 year started in September, and I opened a business in September. Well, technically, I opened it in January. However, I really started the business and brought in clients
Mm-hmm.
my birthday.
Wow.
My birthday was September, was the first month I had my other studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started off strong. I started off like we are leaving the past in the past where it belongs. And also I started a new relationship.
You did.
So it was like whoa.
Yeah.
That was a hard cutoff for me, but it doesn't mean that I was actually entirely ready to do any of that either. And that's also another real factor is like I was just doing it because I was like I know I want this and I want to do it. And now it's like I guess I'm ready to explore this new relationship because it walked in, and it walked in because I was ready to let something go, but that relationship necessarily wasn't there to stay either.
Yeah.
So it was like sort of like the universe helping me to like a little
Yeah.
love tap push.
That's what I think happened. So that's why I was saying, and you're exactly right. First of all, she's hit on a point that I didn't. They're cumulative. If you don't deal with your previous 9 year, it's through this whole cycle. This is one of the reasons why mine really took 6 months to finish, because I had my entire life's nine. Because remember, this is my third transition, but I was doing it on the wrong freaking year. So I was trying to finish this stuff and I never did. I only lucked out a little bit in my last one that we were talking about in 2016, because I thought I was already in my 1 year, but I wasn't. I was in my 9.
Two things too. That doesn't mean you can force things when they're out of order too,
Mm-hmm.
but also have like this is a great perspective of grace. Think about if I have a 9 year amount of time to figure something out,
Yeah.
I have 9 years. It's not a deadline to the end of the year. It's not a deadline to the end of the month. And even the next 2 years, like I notice about myself, normally I think about something and 3 years later, it finally like manifests into physical reality.
Yeah.
It seems to be a 3 year thing. And in society, we're just like ready to push and force.
Yeah.
And that never works.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we're all lied to about personally. But that too, it's like give yourself the grace to get through it. Like I had to pull myself through the sludge and the mud to even get to where I was to move here. And I think that was still my year 8 or
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it still was because it was November. Damn. Okay, my
Yeah.
years are all.
Yeah, well, it's hard. Like it's hard to see, but yeah.
So much happened in that cluster of time too
Yeah.
that it's like I feel like I was put into a vice grip. Yeah, time is a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why 1 years are hard, but they're in a way where it's like, okay,
I feel like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I get to like start over,
Yeah.
like cleans, like wipe the mud, clean slate.
Yeah.
Like that's where I feel like I'm
So
at.
another analogy I like to think of is like these cycles are like each going over a mountain. And the 9 year, you're falling down the fucking mountain. There's nothing you can do. You're just fucking tumbling. In the 1 year, you're at the bottom and you're like, shit, I got to go up this mountain. So it's hard,
Humbling.
but you're not at least at the beck and call of gravity and everything just destroying you, forcing you to change and survive this thing. I know it's pretty extreme, but it's kind of how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're at the bottom, you're like, man, I can finally breathe. That's why there might be a little bit of a time at the beginning of your 1 year to just breathe a little bit.
It's like I don't gotta climb that in 5 days.
Right.
Like I got 9
Yeah.
years to climb that shit.
And really, if you use that analogy I was saying, you get to the top around that 5. 5 is where you get the freedom, the view. Oh man, this is awesome. So,
And I think 5 is probably a good reflection point too, because it's like, do I have freedom or do I not?
yeah,
Am I just pushing through the mud, like I kind of said, or have I been working on myself to get to a point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at this. I know stories really resonate, so I try to get people to see, because what's difficult for me may be very easy for you, and vice versa, just depending on things.
Okay, so what are your like greatest lessons or takeaways about yourself and numerology? Like in the process of learning numerology for you, what sort of like maybe inspired you the most, or what you learn the most about yourself from, and how did that change how you moved through the
Yeah.
world or your life?
Well, for me, I've always had pretty good self-awareness, but not as much as I thought I did in certain areas. Like, okay, I'm a 9, right? And if I would have understood that 9s tend to escape reality and party their ass off and do drugs, I don't think I would have done as much as that. I would have been like, okay, this is just your 9 coming out because you can't deal with your problems. You should put this instead into your art, because remember, 9s become celebrities and they think outside the box. So it's like, okay. And then my life path is 1. And I've failed at a lot of startup businesses before because I didn't see them through the end. And had I not known my numerology, like, that's why, dude, you half-assed it, bro. You didn't go after it with the tenacity of a 1. Because remember, the life path, I don't have those traits inherently. I'm learning them. And so there's been this cumulative thing for me looking back and seeing my failures and going, that was your 9. That was your 1. That, like, now how do I express that? This is why some people have really pushed me the last few to start some new things. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. I've done a lot. Yeah,
I'm a pusher.
And what they don't get is that I've had a lot of people in my life now have only known me for a few years. I've had a lot of failures, and I was almost down and out for the count. I really was, but I've fucking pulled that 9. Let's go. We got to fix this. And now I'm at a point where I can see cumulatively how to do things that are aligned with me. So that's been the number one thing with me. Like, oh wow, there's some weird things about my birthday too. The year I was born, it was also a universal 9 year. So there's really inherent 9 energy inside me. So I really identify with 9. And the fact that it can be famous for things or well known or have a good reputation, and in its highest expression, it becomes humanitarian. I'm like, oh, that could be you, dude. And that lights me up. That actually inspires me to do stuff. Like, I could be in a spot one day where I could actually really impact and help people. I didn't think. Everyone always told me, you should be a teacher. You should do this. And I was like, that's dumb. And now it's like all I think about. So it's like, I really enjoy teaching people. So
I like how you mentioned, though, that the life path number is what you're growing into. You don't necessarily understand that wisdom and knowledge about that number yet. You're learning that number as it goes.
Mm-hmm. And like, this is where the compound number comes into play a little bit, because mine's a 28. So remember what I said about 2 and 8. I have issues with relationships, right? Because I was not very good at that. Friendships, but relationships, maybe business partnerships. I think I blew some things up that way. And heavy karma, right? With that 8 number. There needed to be a transformation inside me before the 1 could be exalted into its highest order. So that's why 28, this is kind of a secret sauce, but they call it the number of wealth. It's one of them. 4 is really kind of the strong wealth number, but 28 is this one version where they're entrepreneurial and they can build things out. But I come from a poor family. I come from people who are terrible with money. And I had to learn a lot of like hard lessons that way because I'm a 28. Now a 37 version of a 1, nah, theirs is more create, sit in space because they're 3 and 7. 19 is more about like they're way more 1 like than a 28 is. So that's where the compound numbers are kind of like you kind of look into those. So that's kind of a little bit more advanced, but that's specifically mine, right? There needed to be a transformation before the universe would bestow this responsibility on me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my numerology taught me. It's like, oh wow, I'm 1 and 9. I have a soulmate number. I have to harmonize both sides of me, essentially.
Mm.
You know, I have to reconcile the crazy guy, and then the guy that I have to grow into this guy that is responsible and has drive and ambition and takes care of things and sees things through to the end until you're successful. That's what ones do. You keep going until you fucking win.
Yeah, it's like your birth date number is also just like your gift and your superpower in this world of what you're going to
Mhm.
be really strong suited in, so you master it, and so you really take into like account all the traits of that number, and then you really like drive into the world with it in whatever way it is, like
Yeah.
and the master number is the life path number, and also just navigating how you're like navigating and taking your lessons. And also I think like for me being a 7 and being hard on myself too, because there's that like astrological aspect of like I am a Virgo and everything, and a lot of the times I felt like at a disadvantage because I had the 7, because I was really prone to depressive states. And I also had a bit of escapism too, because it's like I don't want to spend all day alone in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is treacherous.
Yeah.
And when you take it from the one ambitious self I am, it's like I want to learn that thing and I want to learn it really good. Well, guess what's going to take? It's going to take
Yeah.
time by yourself to learn that thing. And if I didn't know that that was like actually the path that I was supposed to be on, or my journey on in this earth, why I was born to it, I could sit there and be way more hard on
Yeah.
myself. But instead I can utilize that information too to be like, oh no, I'm like, it feels good to spend time alone. I like to be independent. And it actually complements the independence of the 1, because I come back stronger each time I spend that time by myself, and I recenter and recalibrate and take that time.
Yeah. How you express your specific 7 though, because it's a 34,
Mm-hmm.
is create something and give yourself rules and boundaries and structure. And
But do you think it's to create something alone or to create something with others? Because now I've been in this sort of path of I've done a lot and I can literally be one man band and do everything by myself.
yeah.
But I'm finding I'm almost at a disadvantage
Mm-hmm.
where I hit like a wall of
Yeah.
that, where like to I guess go further in my craft, I need to like do these things and
Yeah.
get out of the hermit shell and interact with people and like have involve other people.
It can be any of those because it's 3. This is the beautiful about 3. Approach approach life with the childlike wonder, right? That's
Yeah.
3. This is why it's so cool with these the compound numbers kind of give you the action steps on how to get the higher numbers out, especially if it's in the life path.
Mm-hmm.
So, 4 is like rules and structure. That's easy. I'm going to do this thing on this day this many times, right? That's everyone can figure that out. You can, but the 3 is the harder part because it's like just it, I think doing stuff by yourself and with other people have value. I
Yeah.
think doing things in groups has value. I think going on to other people's thing and kind of adding it has value. All of them do. That's the power of 3. There's no limitation to 3. That's why it's beautiful. And that's how I kind of think about it. It's like you're doing something that is out of your comfort zone that you've not done before.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what it's going to turn out like. You might hate it, you might like it, but you don't have to worry about that. As long as you're staying true to that new thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love the number. But in the modern world, yeah, you're a kid. I have the whole world. The whole world's my canvas. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
That's 3.
Numerology is just it's so multifaceted, and I kind of want to do something with every person that I talk to
Mm-hmm.
and have. So I have a question,
Yeah.
and it is off topic, but how do you want to be remembered in this lifetime?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've thought about this a lot, actually. Dude, honestly, someone who worked through his stuff, right? That just because I was a certain way at one time in my life doesn't mean that's who I am. Um, and that I impacted people. I don't care on a grand scale, just that not just one person, that I impact the people that I'm around on a daily basis. It really matters to me. Like, I make a lot of money where I work, and that's cool, but it's when people tell me, man, I only come here because of you, or
Mm-hmm.
I only come here because you do this for me or whatever. And it's not, has nothing to do with my monetary value. It just has to do with me as a person. I try to be, I'm not trying to be unique, but I'm trying to find myself. And so I just want to be remembered as Michael Joshua Poffin Holmes, or Joshua Holmes, as people call me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's really that simple. I don't think about anything grander. All this stuff that I'm trying to plan on doing, actually, it's not that it doesn't light me up. It's a little freaky, a little scary. Do I really want to do this? But I have a chance to help and impact a bunch of people, even in my singular way. It would be cool. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that motivates me.
Yeah. And knowing you too, Josh works at a casino.
I'm an open book. I don't care what people know about me.
Yeah, Josh works at a casino, and honestly, it's the most time I've spent talking to anyone in a casino, and
Yeah.
never gambled a day in my life.
And I don't gamble either.
That moldy casino, we've talked a lot of shop there,
Yeah.
and I've seen the environment that you've created
Yeah.
just by being you. And something admirable about you too is you always, talk about the woo woo. You show up to people who you would think never ever have been exposed to this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
never would even think about this stuff, probably think it your whack job, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of they are, they are too. But like, you show up and you always talk about what you believe in, what you're learning, and then share that, and like, you reflect that energy, and then people get excited, and
Yeah.
so it's like you're a natural born teacher too.
Yeah. I could tell you. Can I tell a funny story about just happened at the casino?
Oh boy, yeah.
So there's a girl. She's really cool, right? And she's has a pretty bad gambling addict. She doesn't bet a lot, but she was up and down, and everyone else was winning around her. And I forget how I got on the topic, but I said something about astrology to somebody else. She goes, "You're into astrology?" I go, "Oh yeah, I'm like kind of an astrologer." And she goes, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah." And uh, I said, before you tell me your birthday, just I'm looking at you. You look like you have fire energy and water energy. She had paler skin. She had these, like, what I call steel blue eyes. That's fire eyes to me. Like, you have similar color. They're more. It's almost like steel in an old smelter that's blue, right? And there's like gray in it. It's not water. Like, I have more watery, murky, watery eyes, which is more of like a water trait. So I'm just looking at her. I'm looking how she's built. She has red hair too. I'm like, that's fiery as shit. But her skin was really pale, and she has a lot of feminine softness. So I'm like, fire, water. Well, she says she's a Libra. Libra is none of those things. Libra is an air sign, right? And she's a 1. She's born on the 1st. And I'm like, I think her life has 34 too. I think she's born the year before you. Yeah, she is.
Damn, I gotta
Yeah.
meet her.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, here's the thing. You're in a feminine avatar. Your sun is not going to be a very accurate representation of how you look. So I go, I bet you, and I was like, I bet you have a fire moon and a water Venus. I don't know what it's going to be in, but being Libra, your Venus is probably either going to be Scorpio, or whatever. Oh yeah, and then so long story short, I do her chart. She's a freaking Leo moon. She's a Scorpio Venus, and she's a Cancer Mars. And I'm like, she goes, dude, that's crazy that you just nailed that. Now, I didn't know the signs. I know some little tricks, but like, that was just, she was like, just listen to me bullshit now for 30 minutes because I use that. And it doesn't always work, but sometimes it's really apparent. Girls are easier to pin this on because if they look a certain way, it's really accurate to their moon and Venus sign a lot of times. Like, I've got plenty of stories of that, but it was just more recently. She does have the same life path as you, though. She's born on the 1st. Her life path is 34. So yeah, it's just that's the kind of stuff that lights me up. It's interesting doing that stuff and getting people to understand that you're not just your sun sign.
And you're not just talking about the weather.
No,
It's a quick access to really get to know people.
Yeah,
I find that to be the nice
Yeah, and people will say, "What machine should I play?" I go, when were you born?" And they go, "October 23rd." I go, "Number 5 or number 14?" What do you
And
mean?
have you seen success with that?
Sometimes, but it's if you're gonna ask me, I'm just you know, like I do
That's how your
stuff like
brain works.
yeah, I just do stuff like that, or like I see palindromes all the time,
Hmm.
something that's saying, and I'm like, oh, you should play this machine. That's way more accurate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
yeah, no, thank you. It was awesome.
It's like Josh and I always just have these conversations between us, and now we get to like record one, and now I won't forget a thing about numerology because I can look back at
Yeah,
it.
there's
And
so much to
then,
know.
yeah, and you've spent, your own amount of years learning it, and obviously do your own research,
Yeah.
figure it out for yourself too. Online has a lot of things that are, confusing. I felt when I was learning numerology because I feel like I read one thing and then I was a totally different number the
Yeah.
next time around. And
Yeah, I would tell people to dive in. We didn't even get into 22 and 33.
there's a deer literally.
Whoa, look at that. What's up, buddy boy?
There's a buck actually eating the plant right outside
Very cool.
the window.
That's
I
awesome.
saw them walk by before and I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to distract you. Yeah, we didn't even get into 33 and 30.
But
and 44.
they're very rare numbers. They really are. But I'm just saying it would behoove anybody listening to just learn a little bit about numerology and then
Mhm.
start applying it, because that's how it
Yeah.
starts. I'm telling you, it's about self-discovery. And
Yes.
it really is. And you can get someone to do the numerology for you, and that's cool. And that might be a thing. But if you just spend an afternoon on a day you have off for a couple hours, kind of looking into it and doing your own numbers, it's way more effective.
Yeah, I think the most vital part about any of it for me, whether it be astrology, whether it be numerology, even like, other modalities, is I just understood myself and my ticks more and who I was more. And that was so valuable. And even just the basics are so informative, and we can learn so much if you don't even want to get into what year it is.
No.
It's like if you know nothing and then you learn something and it sort of makes sense to you, like take that, and maybe like you can stop being hard on yourself, you can stop putting yourself down, maybe you get the motivation to do the thing, or maybe you understand something about yourself as why you're holding yourself back in a certain way. And it like that for me was just like crazy. And I've always wanted to learn more about these things, and then I met you.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, here's a really pivotal moment of my life where I kind of don't know who I am again, and I'm figuring it out all over again.
Yeah, and
And
I couldn't
then
shut up about it either.
here's a guy that's like, I can't wait to teach you.
Yeah.
Little did I know. And I've learned so much. And, now you're teaching me how to read. He's so cute. Just eating.
Very
Okay.
cool.
Sorry.
We should look
Josh
up.
and I are also friends because we have like ADHD brains.
Yeah.
Like this is probably the most focused we've ever
Yeah.
had a conversation before ever in our lives. Normally we've on like 72 different topics.
Yeah, we have similar astrology in our personal planets too, so it's just like at home. Dude, that
Yeah.
it is pretty. We should look up what a deer totem is, or like a buck, or like a spirit animal.
I mean, deers are usually just naive, like naivety, innocence, purity. Deers are also like the purest of the soul, kind of like the like most vulnerable.
Sweet. That's
Yeah.
how you should approach looking into numerology. It's just I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty cool.
But Josh, are you offering any astrology readings or numerology readings? Do you want that to be?
I think soon I will be, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready to move. I'm getting ready to set up a podcast studio at my new place. I'm getting ready to start making content on this. And the only reason, if within my circle, if people want something, totally, right? So if you end up contacting Kieran, whatever, that's fine. But I definitely want a base of just kind of some content to send some people to kind of, like there's I've thought about this way too much, all the Virgo in my first house, but and I definitely think there's a lot of content that I could put as a base to kind of refer people to, and then deep dive on it.
We're gonna leave a YouTube link of yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing on there, but I have the channel.
Well, you're gonna be blowing up that pretty soon, so
Sweet. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll
like a
drop
month or so.
any information about that Josh wants me to
Yeah. Thank you.
in the show notes if anyone wants to speak to him themselves or learn more. Also, you guys have questions. I do have a link underneath that is always available for questions. I'm definitely going to have Josh back on here again, maybe in the new studio space or wherever we end up.
You'll probably
Don't
end up
expect me
recording
to
there.
have the same space every time, y'all. It's going to change. Yeah, we're going to talk about astrology next time. And maybe I'll let you read my chart in front of
Hell yeah.
everyone listening. To brought up so much to me already just about the other aspects, and I'm learning planets now. I'm learning houses and what they mean in each planet. So there's just so much to be learned, and we'll I don't know, maybe we won't start basic, but we'll see how that one goes.
Well, that's the thing. Numerology is so strong for like the generalized, and astrology is like deep into like very specific things.
Yeah.
And it's still somewhat generalized, but it's not, because there's degrees. That would be like having a 1, a 1.1, a 1.2, a 1.3, a 1. That's where astrology's at,
Because the
right?
degrees.
We'll probably do more on astrology because it's just so deep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much,
No,
Josh.
thank you. I had fun. I had a lot of fun.
First one in the books,
Yeah.
guys.